Well, welcome to the Essex Manor. Probably one of the well-known waters in Essex. The most historic water probably in Essex. Mega place. It's about 7 acres in size. Sort of between 75 and 80 fish, I'd say. So yeah, me and my brother got our tickets on here beginning of April. Couldn't wait. Absolutely buzzing to get down here. I mean, I've heard about the Essex Manor as a kid, like back in the day, like fishing with my dad, both myself and my brother, and Dad used to bang on about this place, like mega water, massive fish. So I remember getting a phone call off my brother, first week in April. Mark, mate, we've been offered 2 tickets on the Essex Manor. I was like, shut up, really? He's like, yeah, honestly, mate, yeah, straight up. Been talking to Mickey. Oh, mate, I could feel the butterflies starting in my belly straight away. Like, the chat and the banter between us had started, like, ripping one another. And so, yeah, sort of met up with one of the bailiffs down here, did a walk around. And I remember having like little bits of snippets between me and my brother, thinking like, you know, what we're going to do, how we're going to target this, what bait we're going to bring over, our baiting approach. Yeah, it was like a mega moment really, and the excitement just was there instantly. It was just, yeah, let's be having it basically. And I think like we carried on talking for about a week, maybe 2 weeks before I actually got down here. Oh mate, I remember Dad talking about the Essex Manor. He was fishing some waters local to this place and he could never get on it. So the fact that we got on it was mental, mega. So my first actual trip on the manor was middle of April. My brother didn't come. I was on my own, and I remember opening up those gates for the first time. I couldn't really sleep the night before. Bait was prepped, rigs was prepped. The wrong rigs were prepped at the time. I remember sort of pulling up, getting the dog out, taking a walk round, and it was busy, and sort of like I felt a little bit deflated really. I was walking around and a lot of the swims were taken, and I remember pulling up to the car park swim and the wind was blowing into a swim called the end pads, which is the other end of the lake, and I was stood in the car park swim and I saw a show and I thought, blimey, that didn't take long. So I sort of stood in the swim for like 10-15 minutes and I see a couple more subtle shows. I see 1 or 2 backs come up and I thought, here we go. So I walked round to a swim called the One, and yeah, I just see a couple more shows and I'm thinking, come on mate, you've given yourself up a little bit easy. I thought it'd be a lot harder, like a couple of hours walk around, sort of trying to find the fish. And like I say, there was a few people on, so there wasn't many swims left to sort of choose from. So I did a couple of laps and ended up back in the car park swim. They were still there and I thought, yeah mate, it's going to happen. I'm having this. So quickly rushed back to the van, got a barra, stuck all my kit out in the swim called the One, and got a rod out, put a lead on, started having a lead about, and I could not get a drop for love or money. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, when you sort of see fish crash and they're sort of cruising, I'm like, I really don't want to be smashing this swim up, sort of spoking the fish out. So I thought, my first port of call was bottom bait rigs. I just come off a lake, done really well on it, done really well on bottom baits, and I thought, start off the manor with something I know, something I feel confident in. But like I say, I just couldn't get a drop. Everywhere I put that lead, I just wasn't happy with a drop. So then I thought, right, back to the drawing board, and tied up some new rigs. So I tied up some stiff hinges, and I thought, if I'm not 100% happy with a drop, I'll fish a pop-up. So I got set up, put 3 rods in the area that I'd seen fish, scattered a few boilies, catapulted, all close in stuff, and put the kettle on, made a cup of tea, sitting there, buzzing, made a fuss of the dog, talking to her, as I do, saying, we're going to have this, babes. Yeah, we're going to have it. And yeah, a couple of hours went by. I walked up to the top of the swim. I was on the phone to my brother and I was like, mate, they're still here. They are still here, they're still showing. A few subtle shows, a couple of fish tops, and just waffling on to my brother, thinking like, you know, just general chit chat, saying to him, mate, there's a few on, like I'm on the back of the wind, but they are here. I'm feeling confident. And with that, my left-hander just one-toned me, and I was fishing the left margins. And it was quite funny because I was on the phone with my brother. I was like, oh mate, I've got to go, I'm in. And like I say, I was at the top of the swim, and I stacked it from the top of the swim right to the bottom, and I landed in a pile right next to my rod with my left-hander bent round, melting, screaming at me. And I'd done my elbow, done my back, but I was happy. I couldn't care less. So I ripped this rod, and it is like stripping line off me. And I remember I was shaking, like I was that sort of nervous, buzzing, like the rod was proper scooped round. And yeah, so give me a little bit of a fight for a little while, scooped the net underneath it, and it was a mid-30, 35 pound an ounces. And I was thinking, wow, what a way to start on the Essex Manor. So I've done some photos, slipped it back. So yeah, with the first fish under my belt, confidence skyrocketed. And so yeah, I got the rods back out, and sort of went a little bit quiet in the swim really. I wasn't seeing as much, and but I didn't care. I had my first fish. Like I was down for 48 hours, and I just thought I could go home now. Like even if I did 3 nights and I just had that one fish, I was just happy to have that one fish. So that, you know, the whole point of my April fishing was to come down and just watch the water, watch the anglers as well, sort of not to copy what they were doing, but just to sort of see what the vibe was, to basically do the opposite of what everyone was doing down here. But one thing me and my brother did say with the Essex Manor, you know, you've had some top anglers down here, you know, catching some mega fish. This place has seen every trick in the book. So it weren't like we were coming down here to rewrite the book and, you know, like to smash it up, and it wasn't like that at all. But I just wanted to get the feel for the place, watch the water, do a few nights in April, see what the vibe was, see what's happening. And yeah, so I was over the moon. I was happy. So yeah, the night went through, the show sort of stopped, but I just, you know, see the night through and went with it basically. That morning, no early morning bite, and I remember the bailiff coming down saying, hello Mark, how you doing, da 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 da, sort of small chat. He said, you've gone against the grain here, mate. You've gone, you know, you're sitting on the back of the wind. They really follow the wind down here. Obviously I was listening to what he was saying, I was interested in what he was saying. I'm like a sponge, mate, you know, I'll soak it up, I'll listen to it. And then I sort of said to him, well, I have nicked one actually, I've had one, you know, a couple of hours after putting the rods out yesterday. And he was like, oh, that's great, excellent, like, well done. So on the second day, I wasn't feeling it at all. Although I was confident in respect of I'd had one, but I wasn't seeing anything, there was no fish showing, the lake was getting a lot busier. And I thought, this ain't gonna happen. But yeah, not a single bleep throughout the day, not a single show. The night passed, the morning passed, and I thought, I'm at a cup of tea. I wasn't in a rush to get away. And yeah, I can't remember if it was the middle rod or the right hand rod, but that just melted. It one-toned me, and I couldn't believe it. I was in again, and really good scrap again. Netted it, and it was a fish called the Pearly Lin, £39 an ounce. I couldn't write it, mate. I was absolutely buzzing. Done some picks. I remember reeling the other 2 rods in, packing up the rest of my gear, straight on the phone to me brother. Mate, I've had another one. He's like, shut up. I was like, yeah, I've had another one, mate. Fish called the Pearly Lin. I didn't know it was a fish called the Pearly Lin at the time. They've got a container up here with a load of photos, fridge, cooker, seating area, that sort of thing, with pictures of the fish on the wall. So I remember shooting there before leaving, and sort of like I see the fish on the wall, and I thought, oh yeah, like, excellent. And I remember sending a couple of texts out saying like, what is this? And had a couple of replies back, and they were like, yeah, it's the Pearly Lin. Usually goes £40, but it's dropped a bit of weight. But I didn't care. I was like, first trip, 48 hours, 2 fish under my belt. I was absolutely buzzing. I remember driving home, like hour and a half drive home, and I smiled all the way home. I remember going through the front door and saying to the wife, 2 fish, get in there, buzzing. So then the bug really started then. That's all I could think about, was Essex Manor. So 101 things going on in my head, and like the Essex Manor was the main one, and I was thinking, I've got to get back down there. I've got to get there. I really fancy another trip. So yeah, with the bug real settled into me now, my next trip was a week later, and so with the spring campaign, it was more of a case of just getting the vibe for the water. There wasn't no pre-baiting. You know, I've done a little bit of research on this water, and you know, people's come down here and put kilos and kilos and kilos of bait in, and it's worked for them. You know, they've smashed it up, they've done really well. So although that was on my radar for more winter time, spring was more come down, sort of do a couple of laps, see what I see, and fish for them. And so yeah, a week later I was back down here. I'd lapped the lake a couple of times, and I ended up in a swim called the Rope, and the wind was blowing into that bank, and I'd seen a couple of subtle shows, and I thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm gonna have this. So never fished the swim before. It's only my second trip down here, so same thing again. Got the lead out, started having a lead about. I've never put a marker float in this lake. Like, I've always leaded about, found what I needed to find, and go with it. So I've put the rods out, found some spots, and got set up, put the kettle on, my usual, had some lunch, and that afternoon the rod rattled off, 37.5 pound. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Absolutely cracking mirror. And shouting the phone to my brother, because obviously he's not fishing. So I winding him up, having a bit of banter with him, and yeah, 37.5 pound. Second trip here. So yeah, the rod went back out, and put some bait back on the spot, which I've brought over here, the 14mm OG Fish Parker baits, and I'm fishing that on a real small stiff hinge, which is their 12mm match the hatch pop-ups. So that's what's been doing the deed for us down here. So yeah, it was my second trip down, and I was 3 fish in, and I was sitting there thinking I could really get used to this. So yeah, that was the one and only fish I had on that trip, 48 hours. But I didn't care. Like, to me, you know, by then I started talking to a couple of the regulars. To do 48 hours and nick a fish, that was good going. That was the norm, you know. That was good angling. So I was happy with that. So yeah, my next trip, I think it was a week later, and still on my own. My brother still hadn't come down with us. So same thing again. It's just sort of like press repeat. Turned up, did a few laps, and found the fish again in the Rope. Obviously going on, like doing a few more nights, meeting a few of the regulars and stuff. I later found out, like obviously in spring, the rope is the place to be. See, I didn't know none of this at the time. I was literally rocking up, walking it, finding the fish, looking for the shows, and I was fishing for them. And yeah, rods back out in the same spots. So every trip I have a notebook, I write notes down, what rigs, bait, how much bait, what way's the wind blowing, how many members are down here fishing it with us, what's being out, if I can find that information out. So I log all that so I can look back through my notes. I just think it helps with finding the spots again. So yeah, third trip down here, I was down for 48 hours, rods back out on the spot. I wasn't giving them a lot of bait, sort of 30 to 40 freebies around each bait. Simple reasons is, I was turning up, I was finding the fish, and I was, I was fishing for the showing fish. So I didn't want to give them a lot, just in case they moved off of me, pack back up again, and I could be down the other end of the lake. So yeah, rod's back out, and yeah, I couldn't believe it. Rod went, just ripped off, melted off, could not believe it. And it ended up being a fish called the Pearly Lin. So the rods had been out a couple of hours, the right hand rod just melted. They proper give a good take on here as well. So yeah, the Pearly Lin at £46, 2 ounces I think it went. And I later on found out that, that was one of the fish to have. It's on a lot of people's bucket lists to sort of have that one fish. So yeah, I couldn't believe me luck, to be honest with you. I thought, mate, this is crazy. This place is unreal. I mean, I'd heard some serious stories about this place. Like, every time that buzzer rips off, the likelihood of that being a 30+ pound carp it's mental. It's crazy. So for those who don't know, the Essex Manor, it's irrigation water. So it's used to water obviously the farmer's field. So the water levels was up in April, obviously. Come summer, it's proper down low. So yeah, beginning of April, end of April, the water level's up. So yeah, on my third trip still, just put back the Pearly Lin, and nothing throughout the day. But first light, morning bite, your right hand rod melted off again, and I couldn't believe me luck. And it was another 30 pounder. And yeah, it was just crazy. It was just mental. So I was 5 nights in, 5 fish under my belt, and I thought my luck's got to run out soon. I thought this can't keep happening. What I had noticed, obviously being on here, watching the water and watching other anglers on here, I was getting here early, I was doing the walkarounds, I was finding them shows, looking out for them shows, and I was turning up in the swim, and I was subtly putting a lead out. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the rope, obviously I'd fished, I'd done a couple of nights in the rope by now, so I knew my spots. But prior to that, I was turning up, 4 ounce lead, but I was feeling, I was sort of feeling that lead in, so it wasn't making a big crash hitting that water. I was trying to be as subtle as I could, like as quiet as I could. I was watching members spombing out. I was sort of picking up on all that. So my approach was sort of finding the spots as quick as I can, catapulting me boilies out, not loads, like I say, 30 to 40 baits, just trying to quickly nick that bite. And I think that was probably a little bit of edge that I had, being able to get here early, setting my alarm for like 2 o'clock in the morning, prepping me stuff, getting me baits sorted, getting me rigs done, and just getting here and finding them, and then being very subtle about it when I get in the swim. And a couple of times that's happened within a couple of 3 hours, there's been fish in the net, and I think that's made a little bit of a difference than sort of rocking up, picking a swim, following the wind, setting my stall out, 5-6 key of whether that's boilies, spod mix, you know, whatever the others are using down here. I didn't particularly want to go down that road. I sort of wanted to, like I say, find them, put a lead on them, a couple of little baits, and that was doing the business for me. So my next trip, week, I think it was a week down the line. It was just press repeat again, done me laps, walked around, and I couldn't believe it. They were showing on the rope again, and I just thought, mate, I've got to get in there. You know, it's worked for me so far, sort of doing me laps, finding the fish, getting in the swim where the fish are showing. So I knew me wraps, knew me spots, rigs pre-tied, fresh rigs on, fresh hook baits on, out they went, pottering about, having a tidy up. I think the kettle was on. 20 minutes later, bang, rod goes. I just remember sitting there thinking, yes, happy days, 33 pounder in the net. So I was down for another 48 hours that trip, and like I say, 20 minutes in, 33 pounder in the net, rod's back out. So I spent the next day, the rest of that day and the next day, not a touch, not one show, not one bubble, not one liner, nothing. But I didn't mind. I thought 48 hours, another 30, winner, winner, happy days. So I packed up, went home, and that was that basically. So yeah, my next trip, finally I managed to drag my brother down here for a little bit of a social. Got the barbecue going. So I did the night before, and I blanked, and I happened to be back in the rope. And you know when you kind of sort of think to yourself, I'm getting drawn into a swim, which is something that I really didn't want to happen. But I was having fish, they were showing there, so of course I was going to go back in there. But I ended up back in the rope. My brother was due down the next day for, like I say, a barbecue, and he was going to put his rods out for the first night. And I blanked, but my brother went next door in the steps, and I remember being in his swim, and I said to him, there's a bush to the left hand side of the swim. I said to him, Marky, give that a little look, mate. I said, because I did hear some crashing out throughout the night down, like it would be my left margin. And he's like, yeah, all right, mate. But obviously Mark's very much like me, wants to do it his way. You know, he's got his own theories, I've got my own theories. His way of fishing, my way of fishing. You know, at times similar, you know. So, yeah, so I think I put the kettle on for him, made him a cup of tea. He's got his first rod out. He's just playing about with his second rod. Obviously, I've blanked the night before. His first trip on the manor. Within, I'd say, I don't know, not even 10 minutes of that, his left-hander being out. We sat there in the swim, he's sorting out his middle rod. Beep, 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 beep. Now my sounder box is in my pocket. I thought it was me. And then I'm looking at my box and I'm thinking, ain't me. And I'm like, Mark, you're in, you're in, you're in. He's like, oh. So he's run down to his rods, picked up the rod, playing this fish. I think I've got a little bit of video of it, I think. No, I have, yeah, I've got some video of it. And oh mate, we were both buzzing, we couldn't believe it. Like, now for me, I was so pleased that happened for him. You know, I'd done 7 nights, I think it was 7 or 8 nights, I think I'd done, you know, and I'd had my fair share, I'd had my 40, had a few 30s out, and for him to come down and bag one up so quick, I was really happy for him, to be fair. I remember having a cup of tea, and I said to him, I'll do pictures, mate. Got his camera, and we didn't get great shots, to be honest with you. I didn't look at his settings, and I just sort of picked his camera up, thought it was ready to go. Schoolboy error. So we slipped the fish back, and I said, what's the pics like, mate? And he looked at me and he went, mate, what are they? Like, I didn't even look at them. I was so excited that he'd had his first bite. I didn't even check the pics. Like, I couldn't believe it. They were all right, but we're very critical of one another's pictures. Like we do like to rip one another. Oh, that's a bit blurry, or that's out of shot. Settings are a little bit wrong. So he played about with his picture. He was happy with it in the end. So he was buzzing. So we had our barbecue, done my second night, blanked. Couldn't believe it. I thought, what's happening? And it was like, ding dong, welcome to the Essex Manor. You think you're getting somewhere with this place, and then, yeah, it just sort of kicks you straight in between the teeth, like, bosh, I'm not as easy as you think I am. I've been kind to you to start off with. Now you're going to see what the Essex Manor's proper about. So that was that trip over. Mark done his first night. He had I think it was a low 30, I think it went. And I had my first 2-night blank. So, like most anglers, you know, personal life, work, families. So I stayed away from the lake pretty much all of May, all of June, didn't do a night, but it's still in my head. It's the Essex Manor's still in my head. And the worst of it is I'd just come off a 2-night blank and I hadn't walked on here for near on 2 months. And I was thinking, what a way to leave it, like a 2-night blank. So I had 2 months at home basically. So I don't really do a lot of summer fishing. I hit the springs, autumn and winter. That's my time. Summertime, I'm at home, kids, family. So there's always a running joke at home. I always say to my wife, whatever jobs you want me to do, make a list, I'll do them through the summer. So basically, you know, I had 2 months of housework, odd job here that needed doing. I was doing my mum's house up as well. So, but in the background of my head, all I was thinking was, I want to get back on the manor. I need to go back. I need to get back on the manor. But I didn't, you know, I got everything done I needed to get done at home. And she was happy at home, which is the main thing. Happy wife, happy carp life. That's the saying in my household. So yeah, 2 months off the Essex Manor. So by this time, it was the 6th of July before I finally got back down there. And I remember coming through the gates, excited as hell. Dog was excited to be down here as well. And I remember getting to the car park swim and looking at the lake thinking, wow, like, that's changed. So obviously being an irrigation water, the water level was down. I was shocked, to be fair. So yeah, I done my usual, press repeat, done my laps. You know, I had a little sort of throwing a stick for the dog and seen a few shows. Remember sitting in a couple of swims. So I sat in a swim. I see a couple of shows in the pump. So I had my rucksack on and the dog, and I sat in the pump. I sat in there for about half hour. See another show in the pump. I thought, yeah, there we are. And then I was just sort of getting up to go and get the barrow out of the van, and I see a show in the rope. And then 30 seconds later, I see another show in the rope, and I thought, mate, this is mental. Bearing in mind, my last trip there was a 2-night blank. And like I said previously, I sort of like kept getting drawn to that rope swim, which, like I say, is probably the main swim in the spring to be in. So I left the dog in the pump with my rucksack, and I walked round to the rope swim, and I sat in there for about 10 minutes. And I promise you now, I probably saw between 8 to 10 shows. I just thought, right, that's it. So I quickly got to the van, got the barrow, chucked my barrow in the swim, shot back round to the pump, chucked my rucksack on, called the dog, sort of marched back over to the rope, knew the spots, although the water level was proper down. So I was thinking, I don't think them spots are going to be deep enough. But it was warm, it was hot, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to go with them spots. So I was feeling the lead down, and I was probably still getting 7 to 8 foot with a drop, counting the lead down. So little did I know it was probably going to be the best session that I'm probably ever going to have on the Essex Manor. So all 3 rods out, and within a couple of hours, bosh, away it went. And I ended up having 7 takes in something like 30 hours. I had 5 30s, and a 40 called Falcos, scraper 40. I think they'd spawned by then, by this time as well, I think, which was quite handy because I was doing my bits at home, so the spawning was out of the way. So yeah, 7 takes, landed 6, lost 1 due hook pull. And then I kind of started picking up a pattern where I was finding the fish, I was getting on the fish. I wasn't giving them a lot of bait. Every time I had a fish, same thing, repeating, 30, 40, 50 baits. I was having another one. But I was kind of picking up a little sort of pattern on, if I was doing 48 hours, I'd have fish quick, I was on them, and then I might get lucky to pick 1 or 2 more up, or I might get lucky and pick one up early morning on the, you know, on the second day. But then it'd die a death. And obviously, as time's going on, I'm speaking to more members on the lake, and they say, mate, with the manor, as soon as they know you're there, that's it, mate. You're done and dusted. So I was nicking the fish, obviously making a bit of noise in the swim, you know, netting them in and out of the water. And I think I was spooking the fish out. So I was sort of lapping it up while they were there, getting them. My rigs were right, me baiting, you know, the way I was baiting it, that was right. But then, you know, 48 hours, I'd end up sort of going onto a blank. That's the sort of vibe I was getting, which it's all a learning curve, you know. I was sort of making note of that, and you know, that was helping me on. That led on to help me down the line for future nights, really. So after that red letter day, you know, that 48 hours, couldn't believe it. I actually left the water alone for another month. So going back to, you know, the beginning of this, I said I just wanted to do a little bit on the spring, get the feel for the water, then leave it alone. Come back, autumn, winter, start pre-baiting, you know, trying to sort of like get a couple of swims going. So I left it alone for a month, and you know, I come down 31st of July for 24 hours, and done my usual. I think this was like quite a big edge for me, really. Come down, do my usual, and I was still setting that alarm for 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was getting here before it was light, and I was doing my laps, I was finding them, and they were boshing in a swim called mid pads. So I sat in the swim watching them, and they were in close. They were in real close. Never fished a swim before, and I thought, don't really want to be smashing the swim to bits. So I got the rod out, put the lead on, sort of like to the right, to the middle, to the left, sort of check my tree, tops of the trees, sort of where they were topping. Found some spots, proper in close as well, but they were showing in close. Still on the stiff hinges, still on the 12mm, you know, match the hatch, OG fish pop-ups. Rods are out, rigs are in, baits out, not a lot, 30, 40 baits, same as usual. And 11:30 that morning, bosh, first fish. And I thought, yes mate, get in there, yes. And yeah, done some pictures, absolutely buzzing. Now, previously, on my last trip at the beginning of July, I spoke to a bailiff, you know, I'd never met him before, lovely fella, got talking, and he showed me a fish called the Sub. 51 pound it come out, late February. What a cracking fish. And I remember saying to that bailiff, oh mate, that's a bit of me, like that's definitely one I really fancy, like mega fish. So bear that in mind, we had that conversation at the beginning of the month. So I'd had the first fish, rod's back out, nothing all day again. Didn't really see a lot. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, I think I know what's happening here. You know, the blokes are right what they're saying. If they know you're there, you'll nick 1 or 2, possibly 3. and then they're gone, they're moved. But there's always that little bit inside you thinking, oh, there might be one more, there could be one more. Nothing happened. So went to bed, stayed up quite late, see a few shows, got up early morning, a few shows, couple next to, you know, right rod, middle rod, and bosh, rod melted off, netted it, give me a pucker fight, and I knew it was a big fish. Didn't really do a lot, but it was just like just trying to throw that hook, typical big fish style. And I remember netting it, and I remember looking at it, looking at the colours, and I just thought, wow, what a fish. And I remember sort of flipping it over in the net in the water, and I looked at it, and I thought, that's the sub. That is the sub. I couldn't believe it. I thought, you know, February, the spawn now, come out at 51, I'm thinking, that's got to go low 40s, it's got to. So I got everything set up, whacked it up on the scales, 45 pound an ounces. Mate, I was over the moon, couldn't believe it. You know, to have one of the known 50s in here. All right, not at 50 pound, I get that, but I'm fishing the wrong time of year to be catching them at 50 pound. But I thought, it's under my belt, I've had it, and what a beautiful fish. So I left there, 24 hours, 2 fish, one being the sub, 45 pound an ounces. I think I skipped back to the van that morning. I was so buzzing, I was excited as hell. And I don't know, it's mad, isn't it? You sort of go home, you sit there all happy, you just think, like, when's my next trip? When is my next trip? You go home, you sort of open the door, you're talking to her. I must bore my wife to bits, mate, talking about fishing over the years. But she knows what I'm like, mate. And I remember her saying to me, what happened to a little bit in the spring and then back on the autumn and like the winter? I was like, yeah, I know, babes, but I just can't leave it alone. Like, I've got the bug. I've got to get back on there. And then my brother started, and then a couple of the members down here that I've got talking to was like, Martin, you've got something wrong, mate. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, do you know it's summer? You said you weren't coming back till the autumn. I was like, yeah, I know, mate, but that's the Essex Manor for you. So I was back down the lake a few days later, the 3rd of August. So I was on 13 nights by now. 13 nights, landed 15 fish, and I had 2 hook pulls. So my brother had only actually done 2 nights on here. He'd had one on his first night and he'd lost one on his second night. So I said to him, Mike, why don't you come down, mate? We'll have a little bit of a barbecue. And he was like, yeah, all right, no worries. So barbecue was on, got down there during the day, and I ended up in the mid pads again. I'd seen a few shows, and I'd actually put in my bait that I'd left over from a couple of days before in the mid pads. And I remember standing in the end pads, and I was doing my laps around in the morning. It was just getting first light, and I'd seen just one subtle show in the mid pads. So I scooped round here, sat in the swim for a little while, and they were sheeting up on my bait that I'd put in a couple of days prior. It was only probably half a kilo over 3 of my spots. You know, it was nothing serious. I wasn't down there to be pre-baiting or anything like that. I just thought it's better in there than it is taking it home. So anyway, my brother's come down, real warm day, and sitting there just talking, ripping one another as we do, having a bit of banter. And we see a group of fish come over, sort of just short of mid-water. And my brother's like, here, Mark, have a look at them. I think he had a set of glasses on, and a pair of Polaroids on. And yeah, a group of fish come over. They were cruising, and they turned around and come back again. And they were sort of lingering in front of us. So we were sort of sitting there, stood up, watching them. And about 10-15 minutes later, my right hander just one-toned, melted off. So my brother's here. He's on the net duties. And it turned out to be a fish called slope-bed common. And oh, single bleep there. So yeah, fish caught a slopehead common. Went 35.5 pound, which was lovely. It was quite nice. My brother was there. Another fish he see. So yeah, fish just, you know, slipped the fish back, had the barbecue. He went, and that was that for that night and that morning. Well, first light, that was that. And then I sort of got up, had a leak, took the dog behind the back of the swim, made a cup of tea, and I think you find, yeah, it was my middle rod, a couple of bleeps, and then bobbing it top of the rod, away it went, playing the fish, and it felt big again. It really did feel big again, like knocking its head, and run me about a little bit, scooped under me right hander, stick the rod under me right hander, playing at the right side of me swim, then scoop back over under me left hander, and yeah, finally sort of gave up, netted it, and I thought, yeah, that's a good fish, that's a 40. And sort of looking at it, didn't know what fish it was at the time, sort of took the pictures, slipped it back, 41 pound 12 ounces, and it ended up being a fish called the pound coin. And shouting the phone to my brother, giving him some stick, saying, mate, you need to hurry up and get down here, there's going to be nothing left for the winter. Just being cocky with him basically, and just sort of trying to sort of like encourage him to get down here a little bit, trying to sort of get him to get the buzz to get down here. And he's like, no, I ain't coming down here till at least autumn. We said, you know, do a bit in the spring, autumn, winter. I thought, oh, all right then, whatever. Moody old git, like, crack on. You know, he was busy with work and stuff like that. I get it. So yeah, that was another 40 under my belt, the pound coin. 41 pound 12 ounces. So yeah, another 48 hours and I found myself back in the middle pads again. They were showing, and they seemed to be showing on the same spots. So the rods were back out. It was literally becoming press repeat. So I was here for four in the morning. Rods are out after I'd done a few laps. My rods are out by 7:30. Sat back in a bivvy. I was watching a few shows. 8 o'clock, my left-hander scoops round. I couldn't believe it. Played it, netted it, and it happened to be the Big Lin. Proper old Nardy carp, one of the originals. 36 pound an ounces. I was absolutely buzzing. So there's another one, you know, another one of the A team off the list. So yeah, same thing again. Put the rods out, nothing happened all day. Nothing happened. It's like I scared them out to swim, you know. It's like they knew I was there. Real slack lines. I was doing everything I could to be quiet. You know, I was sort of back from the rods, like putting the kettle on the cookers, like all quiet, like try to be as stealthy as possible. The dog's asleep most of the day, so she don't do anything, making any noise. So nothing happened that first day after that Big Lim. But that morning, rod scooped off again, 34.5 pound. Like, this was crazy. Like, I've never experienced anything like this before in my whole carp career. All the waters I've fished, like, I hadn't had anything below 30 pound. You know, like 340s, everything else was 30. So yeah. So I remember sort of doing the photos. I reeled in, I put a little bit of bait out, not a lot, just thought I'd give him a little bit, rest the swim, took the dog for a walk, went back to the van, had a wash up and got a bit of food out of the van, come back. Wasn't really in a rush to get the rods back out. I'd had 2 fish, so I didn't care. Got the rods back out and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, do you know what? I've had 2 fish, what have I got to lose? I'm going to give them some bait tonight. So I didn't go mad. I think it was like 3.5, 4 kilo. So my right hand and the middle rod, 2 spots quite close, so I sort of scattered. Yeah, I'd say 3.5, 4 kilos of bait over both rods. And I remember being on the phone with brother going, it's going to go one or two ways. you know, if it don't pay off, it don't pay off. And had nothing all afternoon, all evening, and then just as it was getting dark, my right hand rod melted off, and proper scrappy common, and it was a little stocky going sort of 18-19 pound. So that was my third fish of the trip, and I thought, winner winner, Christmas dinner, happy days. Rod back out, went to bed buzzing, woke up, nothing happened the next morning, packed up and went home, 3 fish under my belt. So then the following week I didn't have me 2 nights, I only had a quick nighter basically. So I thought I'm going to jump back in the rope, which I did. Got the rods out, knew the spots, got them out pretty quick, and yeah, I had 24 hours in the rope. I ended up having 330s out of there, and it was quite funny really, because the week before I was talking to a member about a common in here called the pot rib common, and he said to me, like, a lot of the members don't get it out. He said, but it's a cracking fish, it's just got sort of, you know, a pot rib basically. Well, that's what they say it is, I don't know what it is, but they called it a pot rib common, sort of mid-30s. So I kind of sort of, I think we talked that onto the bank from your following trip. So yeah, I ended up having the pot rib common, 35 in ounces. I remember messaging him saying, mate, can we talk about the big Simo? Or can we talk about baby Stella? Like next time we're down together and we're having a chin wag. Like talk it onto the bank, like having a laugh and a joke, you know. So yeah, 24 hours, 330s under my belt, and away I was, back home. So at this point, I'm on 17 nights. I think it's 17 nights, 25 fish, I think. And I end up finding myself back in the middle pads, and it was quite a special trip, to be fair. Well, it turned out to be quite a special trip. I ended up catching the big Lin again and the slopehead common again. The big Lin was the same sort of weight, 36 pound in ounces. The slopehead common was a little bit bigger at 37.5. That was on my first night I done, and then on my second day, yeah, I couldn't believe it, mate. I could not believe it. Rod melted off, another 40 in the net, proper good scrap, and it happened to be cluster. I didn't actually recognise the fish, and I didn't even know there was a fish in here called cluster till the week before. Same thing again, was talking to a member, he showed me a picture of it, and I was like, oh mate, that's banging, that's a lovely fish, that is. So he showed me cluster and a fish called Mr. Kipling, and I remember sort of talking to him, and I sort of like pointing to his phone. I was like, yeah mate, that one's a bit of me, proper gnarly looking beautiful fish. Yeah mate, in my net, 43 pound and 4 ounces, and yeah, got some pucker shots of that one. Straight on the phone with my brother. I think at this point, I think he was getting it. It was, don't get me wrong, there's no sort of like, oh, he's had another one. It's nothing like that between me and my brother. We're always happy for one another. But I think it was getting to the point where, Jesus Christ, mate, like, you're having some serious fish out of here now. I'm just buzzing for him to get down there to sort of, I want him to experience that, what I've experienced, you know? Like, for them big, gnarly looking old fish to come over that string, mate, on that net. Just to see him smile, mate, and hold that fish up mega times, mate. You know, to be able to sort of spend those times with your brother, it's priceless, mate, in my opinion. So now it's the 31st of August, and I'm down for a 24. Got here early. The mornings, you know, it's not getting light too early in the mornings now, sort of 6 o'clock. So I managed to get an extra half hour in bed. So I've turned up 24 hours. There's a few on, and I'm walking around, and it's been the same southwesterly for like 2 weeks, 2 and a bit weeks now. And I see 2 subtle shows, like doing me laps around. And like I say, there was like 4 or 5 anglers on. I don't think a lot had been out. And I'm sort of sitting there, you know, when you just get that feeling like it just don't feel right, you're sort of setting up for the sake of setting up. That's the feeling I got. I ended up in a swim called the Flats. Never fished it before, which I thought to myself, do you know what? I know that's got good winter form, the flats, and I thought if I don't catch, I'll come away with a bit of knowledge of the swim. Sort of had a little lead about, made some notes in my book, some spots, and so I sort of got the rods out, nothing to go on really, nothing at all. And sort of sitting there watching the water. And now with the flats, it's quite a tight swim. You've got reeds either side and you sort of set back a little bit, you're in your bivvy, you can only sort of see like a channel in front of you. So I had sort of my middle rod sort of like in my eyesight. And I'm sitting there and I'm drinking tea, I'm making a fuss with the dog, and I think I'm even texting like my brother and the missus saying, don't feel right. Just, I don't know, I was texting another member that's been on for sort of 3 nights. He hadn't had a touch. Just did not feel right. And then there was a geezer opposite me and his rod's melted off, and I thought, oh sweet, he's into one, happy days. Like, it's not always about me catching fish, you know, it's nice to watch the others catch as well, 100%. I love to hear about other people's stories, their catches, their photos. I'll sit there for hours listening to people talking, mate. So yeah, he's into one. I thought, oh, happy days. Sitting there watching the water, sort of standing up, and my right hand just buckled round. I thought, yes. So I'm playing this fish, and I thought, excellent. You know, geezer opposite to put his fish back. He's watching me play this one. I've netted it. I thought, lovely. Couldn't believe it, mate. I thought, I'll have some of that. Nothing really to go on. And then done the pictures, weighed it, sort of low 30. So sort of got the rods out, and like I say, I didn't see anything for the rest of the day, all night. It was only a quick overnighter, nothing else happened. Sort of left, I thought, well, I've had one, that's nice. I've fished a new swim, found some spots. You know, that might come in handy a few weeks down the line. So yeah, and then I was back a few days later. Actually, I was back a week later, and I was only down for one night. And same thing again, just same winds. I remember saying to my brother, it needs a fresh wind on it. It needs to sort of shake them up a little bit, get them moving. And I set up in a swim, nothing really to go on, nothing at all really, weren't feeling it. And you just get that feeling. I thought, oh, tie some rigs up, I'm hearing it, I'm behind rods. You know, even though I'm not catching, I'm still learning. So that's to me, that's, you know, to take that away from the water, you ain't always got to be catching to be learning. You're coming away with something. So I'm tying up some new rigs and stuff like that, just sort of doing a bit of prep work. Nothing happened. So that was a blank for me. So I remember on that session, on that night, obviously I didn't catch anything, but I'd noticed I was still fishing quite short. They were proper sheeting up behind me. So I don't know, there was some old bait there, you know, someone had fished it previously and sort of stuck a bit in before they left. But they were feeding behind my spots. I think I had it out to about 10:30, 11 o'clock that morning. Just didn't happen. So yeah, that was my first blank in a new swim. Called the Garden. But same thing again, I had a lead about in there, made some notes, took some information away with me. So that kind of brings us up to sort of now really, beginning of September. I'm 26 fishing, 19 nights done. And for someone that had in his mind, you know, this was going to be an autumn winter lake, I feel like, you know, I've pretty much got like a third of the fish under my belt. And it's not just about the fish, you know, the knowledge I've picked up in those 19 nights, that I feel like it's given me a good head start for my autumn and winter campaign. So, you know, like come autumn, come winter, I'll be turning up and it'll be pitch black. With knowing the information I've got, with 5 or 6 of the swims that I've fished and I've made notes on, I can turn up in the dark, I can put them leads out, I can feel for my drops, and I know I'm fishing. So I feel like that's given me a proper head start, mate, for my winter campaign.
So the question is, are you coming to the Winter Carp Show? Because Parker Baits are going to be there and we're going to be bigger and better than ever before. Tommy boy, what we bringing then, mate?
We're bringing the pick a mix, the famous pick a mix. So come over and join us for a bit of pick a mix action, hook baits, Scopex flat spots, some more specials as well. The whole team's going to be there. The deals are going to be fantastic. You need to come over and see us. How do they book?
Wow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all in the description of this video. Make sure you go over to the website. It's on the 29th and the 30th of November. And like I said, their freshest bait in the game is going to be there.
And if you're wondering where it is, it's at Sandown Racecourse. So if you're near Sandown Racecourse, or if you want to make a little journey, come down and see us. It's going to be a great weekend.
So make sure you beeline over to the Parker Bait stand. Run past all the stands, come over to Parker Bait stand, and I'll see you there in the
Get
morning.
involved.